every dating interaction, the girl must feel attraction for you because attraction is not a conscious choice. And two, the girl must feel comfortable slash or connected to you. If you attract a girl using money or superficial stuff, then the moment the guy who has more of that than you comes along, she's going to flip. Build this skill set to authentically connect with people. This skill set will pay you dividends in financial, social, relationship wise, years down the road that you don't realize right now.
Hello guys, I am Mr. Silk and welcome to my channel. Today I have a very interesting guest with me today. His name is Giovanni and he has his own YouTube channel called High Integrity Skills. Giovanni has been in the area of dating women and he have a very robust experience in that field. And I'm very happy and glad that he's joining us today and giving his thought about what attraction actually is and how it actually works.
What is attraction, right? So it was from my mentor, and he said women are attracted to 8 things, right? It's leader of men, healthy emotions. I think people have been trying to answer what is attraction for a long time. Some people would say attraction is just the chemistry of the pheromones, and you won't know until you meet someone that you're attracted to them, right? And every model that we come up with for attraction is just that, a model. It's a model of reality. And because our views are limited, our perception is limited, every model has a limitation. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now that being said, I'll give you some models that seem to have worked for my clients, right? One model is there's long-term attraction and then there's short-term attraction. Okay, so what does that mean? So long-term attraction is like, do I work out? Am I building up enough muscle mass? Do I have a life where I feel emotionally stable, right? Do I feel financially stable? Do I want to get braces, which might take a year to fix everything? That's long-term attraction, right? Short-term attraction is, how am I going to dress tonight? What is my body language like when I go up to the girl tonight? What am I going to say to her that's going to create that, instant spark, or not the superficial, hey, what do you do? Do you come here often? What's your name? You're beautiful, right? How do I have a genuine conversation? How do I have a fun conversation? So short-term attraction is basically you can go up to anyone, they don't know who you are, and you can, basically we call this a cold approach, right? The interaction is cold. They don't know who you are, they don't know if you're famous, they don't know anything about you, they don't know your work experience, they don't know your proof of concept, they have no idea of who you are. And you can build that, on top of that, build a story around the fact that you're an attractive guy. Long-term attraction is what we also call passive value attraction, is like all the things you worked on over a longer period of time. Okay. And then with the short-term attraction, there's active value and passive value. Active value is I'm actively talking to her in a way that's going to get her interested in me. Passive value is how I'm dressed tonight, right? I can't change how I'm dressed after I walk out of the house, right? Passive value is my nonverbals. So that's one way to think about attraction. But another model we have is attraction and connection. So you have attraction, but for women, attraction is not enough. We also need to feel, she needs to feel she's connected to you, that you're safe, that she feels comfortable and connected to you. So generally when I teach my clients, it's okay, are you attracting, do you have the qualities of attraction that you need to get the girl you want, right? Up to a certain level. And then do you have the connection with her that is enough for her to trust you and actually continue the interaction with you in the dating situation?
Right, very, very interesting. So if we go back and we look at passive value traits, so my understanding is that passive value do has its place. It is important, but not that important what most people are thinking or what most guys are thinking. So what I noticed from my clients, and I've been coaching hundreds of guys how to attract women, what I noticed is that while passive value attraction has its place, it's actually much more of your ability to how you make her feel in interaction rather than the passive value trait part. However, with that said, as you said, I believe that passive value do has its place up to a certain level. a certain level. But once you reach that level, I believe that many times the true attraction comes from how you make her feel attracted towards you. And we're going to get into those area quite, after some while in this podcast. But that is what I believe is crucial. There are so many guys out there that I noticed only focusing about the passive value part and then believing that the rest of the things is just going to fall into its place automatically. But it doesn't work that way. And women's brain chemistry doesn't work that way. What do you have to say about this one?
So there's short-term passive value and then there's long-term passive value. Are you talking short-term or long-term?
So right now I'm talking about basically both, because I mean, let's say that your dressing style for your own perception is like good. Maybe it's not optimal, but it is good. And when your dressing style for today is good enough, so it looks good. I mean, it could always be better, but it looks good enough. What I mean in that sense is, does it matter if you even sharp it even further, or is many times good enough really good enough in terms of passive value? And then later on, the way you're interacting with the woman and how you make her feel when you're interacting with her is more the essential part. And that also goes with the long-term passive value. The reason why I'm taking this up is because I have a client, many of those clients that have been really, really successful in life. They have very sharp clothing. They have a very healthy lifestyle. They are having, passions that drives the whole day-by-day life forward, and they are really successful men. But when it comes to attracting women, and specifically women that has lots of male attention, they just fall apart. The whole card house just fall apart because they don't have the ability to make you feel good in interactions. Then I have clients that doesn't have that much of value traits. I mean, they are really average guys, and they are really successful with women after a while, once they learn how to really connect with them and really make them feel good in conversations and interactions. That is why I believe that this topic is so important, because passive value has its importance, both short-term and long-term, but only to a certain level. And that area is where I used to say about the average man. Over that, it doesn't give you that much value. It's more towards giving the ability to really interact with women with influence. So that is what I mean in this area. So go ahead, Giovanni.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree with you. So passive value, you need to get it to a point where you have the results that you're looking for, and then beyond that, you do it for yourself. So for example, some people, you just want to be financially stable so you have enough money to take girls out on dates without going broke, right? That's basic financial passive value. So once you have that, then if you want to make more money, then you do that for yourself, not for the girl. If your style is really bad and you're just getting rejected over and over again, and your ratio to your number of tries to getting the girl out on a date or getting a number is so low, yeah, you want to increase your style to a point where you're getting results, right? Then beyond that, if you're someone who enjoys fashion, who enjoys like dressing up and looking good, then do that for yourself, but don't do that for the girl. On the other hand, if you're a guy who has a lot of value in one end, like you have a lot of money, I have a lot of clients who are very financially, career-wise successful, and then they talk to the girl like, oh, I got a new Rolex, or hey, check out my car. It doesn't work, right? Because you have to be able to talk to a girl in a way that's like normal and makes her feel good, and that aspect of it they don't have down. So none of that stuff translates to romantic interactions. If you attract a girl using money or superficial stuff, then the moment the guy who has more of that than you comes along, she's gonna flip. Okay, so you attract like what you put out. If you're putting out like, oh, I'm really rich, she's gonna see you as a guy who's a provider. Again, I'm using these very like red pill terms. In general, she's gonna see you as, oh, this guy's it's his decision to court me using these resources. So I have no choice but to assess him on these resources, what he's presenting, right? Hey, I have all this, I got a nice house, apartment. I have a nice nest, right? Birds build nests. I got nice feathers. Okay, I'm gonna look at your feathers. But let's say you don't have the nice nest or the house, but you know how to dance, right? The bird knows the dancing ritual, or the bird knows how to sing a song that's very beautiful. Then there are ways you can get her attention there too, right? Now, as humans, we have what we call identities and grounding sequences, which are stories that tell who we are. And if you can do that successfully, then women are more likely to understand you and to feel connected to you. So you don't need all that passive value, so to speak. You just need enough of it to be stable. And then the rest of it is really the communication around how to connect and find the truth with the people you want to date.
All right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So when you say find the truth, tell us more about what you mean with that. Find the truth.
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of dating advice is centered around routines or things that you should say, right? And we say things that either we think saying those things will get us what we want, or we say things that have been programmed into us. And I'll give you an example from job interviews. So in a job interview, someone will ask you, why do you want this job, right? And in the beginning, if you're new, someone will be like, well, I'm just going to be honest. And if they don't like me, then, hey, I need the job. I want this job because I need the money, right? Now, if you say that in a job interview, chances are you're not going to get the job, okay? We're trained in that situation to say, well, I'm career advancement, blah, 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 blah. I see myself 3 years from now. There's a certain things you need to say to get the job offer, right? Same thing with dating, right? You can't just say, well, I slept with like 3 girls and none of them I got an STD, so now I'm like looking to settle down, right? You can't say, it's too brutally honest, right? So that's on one end, brutal honesty. A lot of guys are like, oh, I'm going to be brutally honest, and if she doesn't like me for me, then screw her. That's her problem. Like, no, it's your problem because you didn't learn the rules of the game. On the other hand, which is a lot of problem, this is probably 10% of clients. Then you have like 80% of clients who are like, they say things that they've saw in movies or they think they should say. Like they see a girl and they're like, you're so beautiful. Do you come here often? It's like an 80s movies line. Like they just say, or, hey, how you doing? Great. So, how's the weather today? Great, Bob. How's your weather? Good. I'm good. How are the kids? They just get into this very fake conversation, right? Or sometimes we have the one topic girl, which is like, so you're a hairdresser? Oh, cool. So like, when do you cut men's or women's hair? Oh, cool. So do you work on weekends? Oh, cool. So like, do you work on Friday? Yeah, that's nice. Do you like cutting hair? Okay. How much you charge for a haircut? Oh, okay, yeah. I can come in for a haircut sometime. So now he just talked himself into being her customer. So yes, does he really care that she cuts hair? Like, I don't care, but we have nothing else to say. And so we default to what we call these like social things that we think that society wants us to say, right? To get the girl. And it just doesn't work. So on this end, it's super fake, or we don't know how to be otherwise. And on this end, it's too brutally honest. So where you want to be, in my opinion, is you want to get to about this level where you're most of the time, you're being pretty honest. But you're not just spilling everything into her, like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. It's like you still understand that in dating and courtship, there's a little bit of mystery and there's a gradual process of disclosure. As I'm disclosing myself in the job interview, right? I might, for example, when I interviewed at Google, I could tell who was really serious and like, look, this point 1, 2, 3 on your resume, what was your work experience? Where's the proof of work? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, this is that type of person. Hey, listen, very professional. I worked here in consulting, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do a great job here at Google, right? Very professional. Like I'm smiling, but I'm giving them a professional answer, right? Then I had a manager who his name was Jeff, super nice guy. One of my best friends, became one of my best friends after I got the job. He was like, so yeah, hey, tell me about yourself. How's life? And I'm still professional, but I'm like, yeah, I would love to work here. I do have an offer somewhere else, but I've been, aiming at Google for a long time. And life here is, I tell them a little bit about my personal life, right? So throughout the rules of this process, the rules of engagement, I follow the rules of engagement, but in between I inject a little bit of my personality to the conversation. Okay? Very interesting, right? Now at this point, people are like, okay, wait, so how do I do this in dating? Well, okay. So a regular guy is gonna go up to a girl. Hey, I thought you were really beautiful, and uh, if if I didn't talk to you, I would regret it so much. Ah, right? It's like, bro, how many times have you heard that? I would regret it? And she's like, yeah, that's at least he's trying, right? But if you're a hot girl, you've heard it before, right? It's like, dude, every guy regrets not talking to me. I'm a 10. So, okay, how do you stand now? Well, first step, right? Look. Are you really gonna regret it? Maybe a little bit, but it's all bullshit. It's like you're not really gonna regret it. You're gonna go home like, damn, I should have talked to that girl. The truth is, if you really think about it, she's hot and you want to talk to her, right? But because every guy is saying she's hot, so if you have to compliment her on something, fine. If you have to compliment her on her beauty, be at least rule number one is be specific. You're so beautiful. I had to say hello. No, it's like, hey, I really like the way you did your hair. It looks very beautiful and it looks like you put a lot of thought into it, right? Yes, it's about her beauty, but at least it's specific. I rather not to compliment her beauty because women of beauty are often complimented on her beauty. So instead, I compliment her on her behavior. Hey, the way you walked, like it felt really powerful and you look like an interesting person and I wanted to say hello. So I'm putting the frame that she might be an interesting person. There's more to her than just her looks, you see. Even though I'm attracted to her looks, there's more to it than that. Now, for some other clients, that's not their style. They don't feel like that's their vocabulary. Those are not the words that they use, okay? A very simple opener I taught a client recently is just, hey, you're a girl, I'm a boy, and I wanted to say hi, right? Just very innocent, very simple. Now that already, we're so far away from, so you're so beautiful, I had to talk to you and I regret it, to now I'm being a little more real, right? I'm still following the rules of engagement, which is don't compliment a really hot girl on her looks. But I approached her and I gave her something that might be, that can hook into a better conversation, okay? Now, most guys, what do they do then? So, like, do you come here often? So like, where are you from? What do you do for work? Wow. It's like, again, the same repetitive cycle. Like hot girls, they've heard it thousands of times already by the time she's 21. Okay. So instead, you could tell a story, you could do a cold read, or you could just state your intent, right? It's like, hey, I am new to this city, or you could, hey, I'm trying something new for the next 2 months. I want to meet people that I normally wouldn't get to meet on my regular journey. And I just wanted to like diversify the people I, get to know. That being said, what is your name, right? So now I'm just putting it out there. Like, look, I'm trying something new. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I wanted to get to know you. Is that okay? Okay, very simple. Instead of saying, where are you from? You could say, you look like you're from Europe. You look like you're from Germany. Or you look like you work in marketing, right? That's a cold read. Or you could say, you look like you're from this, but where I'm from, girls that look like you, they're usually tourists that are just visiting for a while, okay? I'm making it easy for her to say, actually, I'm from France, I'm from Germany. She's gonna engage with you and you're gonna create that space for her to step forward to have a real conversation with you, okay? When a girl asks you, so yeah, I'm okay, how's your day? What do most guys say? Oh, great, my day's great. How about you? I'm fine. They're not fine. So, look, how are you? When someone asks you how are you, you could say, are you just being polite or do you really want to know, right? That's one way to really qualify if she's just, and Americans especially, they're like, how are you? Fine. But really, it's like, how are you? Then you can take a moment and think about it. You could say, today, just pretty good. I'm warming up, it's getting better. One of those days. So just taking that little pause and just being able to speak honestly about how you feel, you're much better than most guys. Okay, we're moving away from the fake conversation of what we think things should be to real conversations, but while following the rules of engagement of attraction, which is I'm comfortably leading her to get to know a little bit about her, right? I'm doing a cold read or I'm telling her a story about why I'm talking to her. I want to get to what we call a social hook point. A point where when she's walking or she's sitting there up at the park and she's like, okay, this guy seems interesting. He had the balls to come up and to talk to me. He complimented me, but not like every other guy who was vague, who just said I was beautiful. I liked that he said I did my hair right. That's cool. Now I'm going to give him a chance and I'm going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to tell him a little bit about my life, right? And I'm going to get to know him. And now you're in the game. Now you reach the hook point, which is she's not ready to say she's going to sleep with you, but she's going to be like, this guy seems interesting. Let's see if he continues to interest me. Okay. Now, by the way, I'm talking about girls that are like being competed after, right? If you're like, at this point, most girls will be like, okay, cool. Like, I'll give you my number, you'll talk a little bit, and you're good. But if you're competing after the highest level girl, which I was for many years, you have to be better than everybody else. Everybody else, including my counterparts who are not Asian or minority, I have to be better. So I had to create massive levels of attraction and connection to the point where the number would not flake, especially with like model girls, right? So we do this throughout. Now I'm going a little bit beyond your topic or your question, but basically we're adding authenticity throughout the game to make it so that it's fun for the girl and it's fun for you because you're talking about something that you actually care about and it's actually real. Okay, that kind of answers the question, but this is the framework that we're working from, which is how can I be real at all times? And I'll end the answer with this. I think it was Bruce Lee, he once said, to be true to yourself, to be honest with yourself at all times, my friend, that is very hard to do. Okay, to be constantly expressing yourself truthfully actually requires effort. So people actually have to step out of it and be like, how can I really genuinely communicate myself in a somewhat truthful way, not brutally truthful, but truthful to the point where most people that interact with me, they feel like they're getting to know the real me. And just by doing that, just with that framework, if you install the techniques around that framework, you can outcompete guys that are have more money than you, richer than you, better built than you, because you can connect with people better than those guys. And women respond over time, at least, they respond more to those emotions rather than the superficial stuff. Most women.
And guys, I just want to emphasize one thing. What Giovanni just said here is it's not just a little bit. I mean, you being able to be this really authentic man that is have a perspective of being really authentic, being real, can blow a guy with passive value away pretty easily. I've seen it happen over and over again. So absolutely, being real is something that I feel beautiful women or women that have a lot of male attention are craving for. So if there is one thing that I believe beautiful women are absolutely craving for is to meet men that can be real. Because when you look at guys out there today and you see them and you put them in front of a beautiful woman, that guy as a main rule becomes weird. He's definitely not himself. He can't control all the spikes of the neurotransmitters in the brain that can make him normal. So he becomes someone who he is really not. And immediately the woman can see that this guy is not coming from the area of being authentic or being real. He's coming from a different area, whatever that means. However, that other area, it's somewhat creepy for most women, and specifically women that have a lot of male attention. Do you agree with that, Giovanni?
Yes. Now look, if a beggar went up to a hot girl and he was very real, she might give him some money, but she's not gonna go out with him, you know? So of course, being real, all things being equal, if you were, okay, for example, like when I was modeling, right? Like you go out with a bunch of model friends and a lot of girls actually come up to you because all the guys are good looking. I'm like the least good looking one. So when you're there, I'm within the range of that circle. I'm still with them. So over time, even though my male model friends are better looking than me, I still get the girl and they're like, how did you do that? Because I'm being more authentic than they are in my conversations, right? However, if I'm like not even at that tier, if my style is bad, if my nonverbals are bad, I can be really real and the girl might be nice to me, but she's not going to give me a chance to date her. So there is still that perception of value that you need to at least like be good on paper to the point where she's like, okay, I'll talk to him, right? So it's not just like, don't dress up, don't do your hair, be a mess, don't work out, be overweight, and you can still be real and get the girl. There is a range, okay? My mentor used to tell me, if you have game, you can go up 2 points. So if you're a 7 out of 10 right now, let's say based on your competition, your marketplace, right? If you have good, authentic game, you can get from a 7, you can get a 9. You can go up 2 points, right? With style, you can go up another point to 2 points, depending on, your physical hardware. So with that, if you're a 5 with good game and style, you can probably get a girl who's an 8. I'm using these numbers based on just overall marketplace assessments based on what most people want. Okay, and again, people could like different things, but you get the point. So yeah, you can go up a few points, but you still need that basic level of. That's why I created a product around style, around how to text, communicate, and how to cold approach and do all that. So it is the most important thing, but you need all the other stuff too. You can't just do that one thing and expect results.
Okay, so guys, I can to clarify a little bit. So what I also emphasize, and I've done it before in my previous videos as well, is that good enough is still, a place to be. So when you are good enough, when you reach a certain level of passive value, it's not until then the interaction and the skills in conversation really takes place and become like the truly thing that matters when it comes to attracting women. However, getting into the good enough part is still there and is still valid. So, but however, if we take away the extremes, like I understand, because it's very good to use the word beggar. I get that. However, if we just going away from the extremes and we look at how men looks today, many of my clients, how they look today, they are pretty normal blokes. They look okay. They look pretty good. And from that perspective of being good enough, being super good enough is probably not going to help so many men unless they go in and really learn social skills and really learn having conversations with people that is influential. And it's a huge difference of believing that you are good in conversations and actually being good in conversations. So now we're entering into the topic of the right mindset in conversation. What makes a conversation influential? How does people work in interpersonal communication? What actually triggers people, and specifically women, attractive women? What triggers them in conversations? Well, according to the scientific research, over and over again, it has been shown that people in general are very self-centered. So it's much more about being interesting about them rather than saying a lot of interesting things. And we have also seen that in order to, if you are having a conversation in a certain depth with a person, it's not until then something magical happens in the brain. It's like all those releases of neurotransmitters that is linked to attraction, bonding, and reward and feeling of pleasure. And we want to have a conversation that do have those elements of feelings when we're interacting with them. So we have to take things to depth. What do you think about that part, Giovanni?
Yeah, that's good. So how do you take it to a little deeper of a conversation? That's the question, right? So there's
Yeah.
different techniques on how to do that. Yeah.
And there is, and that is basically what Giovanni also mentioned. What you also mentioned, Giovanni, about seeking the truth. Because when you ask a question to a girl and you want to create connection with her, there is always cues that she's leaving in a sentence of the answer that doesn't mean anything unless you're seeking meaning on them. So, for example, if you go up to a girl and you ask her, "Oh, by the way, what do you think about Los Angeles?" And she look at you and she said, "Well, I think it's beautiful. I think it's nice," and that's it. Many guys would take that as an answer that they just feel is okay. Now I know what she thinks about Los Angeles. She thinks it's beautiful and nice. However, if we're going to separate those and then really seeking the truth of what does she mean with beautiful, I mean, my perspective of beautiful might be different from hers. I cannot assume that I understand her beautiful. So once you go in and seek clarification on what she really means with beautiful, that is when you go into the area of empathy. And I believe that when you go into the area of empathy, where things actually matters, that is it's not until then you truly influence people, and specifically women with a lot of male attention, because they rarely have empathetic conversations with anyone. And being empathetic comes from the mindset of being absolutely curious towards the other person. So it is like discover the unknown in people. That is so powerful to take things into depth, and we want to be in that depth and talk about things that really matters.
So one of the tough things about dating advice is that it's art more than a science, and so it's easy to say there's just one thing that's going to work for you, and a lot of guys are like, oh, that's BS, and they try it. I tried this, it doesn't work, right? So in dating, there are things that I've taken from different sources over the years, and I've integrated it into my personality to effectively connect with people and get the result that I want in dating, right? So yes, empathy is a big one for sure, and understanding kind of what words mean to people is really important because words mean different things to different people. Like the word love and the word God means very different things to very different people. So that's important. Generally speaking, if you want a framework to start, this is the one I use. You know, again, it might work for me and it might not work for other people, but I think overall there's attraction and comfort, right? That's from my mentor, attraction and comfort. But what I discovered was you need a deeper level of comfort. A higher level of comfort is connection, where she feels connected to you. So really attraction, comfort, and then comfort turning into connection. So if you were to talk about it, every dating interaction, the girl must feel attraction for you because attraction is not a conscious choice. And two, the girl must feel comfortable / or connected to you in order for a romantic relationship to happen. Okay. Now, empathy is a way to build connection, right? Hey, I empathize with you. But if you just do connection and comfort, you just get a friend zone. Wow, I feel so, this guy is so cool. I love him like a brother. I feel like he gets me. But there's no attraction. If you only have attraction, then you become an F-boy, right? It's like, oh, this guy, I call him the hookup sometimes, but I'm not seriously going to think about dating him, right? Or sometimes there's too much attraction and she feels not enough comfort. She's like, I'm not going to sleep with him because yeah, I'm attracted to him, but he doesn't seem like he's really empathetic or he cares. And I don't feel comfortable around him. Okay? So you need attraction. They need to feel attracted to you, that pull, and then she needs to feel also at the same time safe and comfortable around you. That she can at least trust you based on your current social contract, which is the minimum social contract really. Do I trust him enough to kind of hook up with him one time? Right? That he's not gonna like kill me, right? I mean, biologically, literally, that's going on in her brain. Okay, so those are the conditions for flirting, right? Now, there's a lot of techniques from banter to role reversal to, memorize jokes to misinterpretation to frames. All those techniques can be used, and different clients like different techniques. Some people enjoy frame battles. Other people kind of enjoy the idea of misinterpreting, what she's saying. Other guys like just really deep questions. So depending on personality, different things work for different people. Or let me study one technique, right? That's what my dance teacher used to say. Study the fundamentals of one dance or one martial arts first to the point where you understand the basics. Then apply them. And then try another dance or try another art form. Learn the fundamental basics. See if there are patterns and then pick the ones that work for your personality. Okay, then eventually over time you build up a kind of a system around what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're going to get into like principles here, like for example, like if we go into behavioral principles and we go into communication principles. So what I've seen from the area of the psychology section faculty academically, we have seen that in order to create something with someone, if you want to create attraction as a real attraction with an attractive girl, for example, one thing that we have to obtain first is safety and trust, because unless she feel a certain degree of safety and trust you to a certain degree, a lot of other things can't really sink in. It's very hard for other things to sink in. So in order to get into the area of her feeling safety and trust towards you, I believe that the connection part, or what your term of comfort is probably a good description, that in order to really being contagious and work on relationship building materials, I believe that you need to feel safety and trust first, and we're doing it with comfort and connection to start with. It's very hard to try to relationship build right off the bat, like you go up to her and you're being very flirtatious immediately. That is not what I believe works optimally if you want to attract women. You have to be able to create some sort of connection first before you start being flirtatious and relationship build, basically. And also when it comes to the principle of really creating connections, which is absolutely crucial if you want to succeed with anything, I believe, is to be able to listen to what she actually are saying. And listening skills has been shown that basically no one has. It's something that you really need to practice with strong intent. Otherwise, what she says is not really registered in your brain, and you cannot really ask about things and seeking the meaning of things unless you can really hear them. And from my understanding, when it comes to safety and trust, what is a connection that is linked to safety and trust? Well, that is understanding. And it's not only understanding what people are doing, it's why they are doing things, their relationship to subjects. So, for example, if a girl walks 30,000 steps a day, okay, but what is the link between her and walking 30,000 steps a day? Now we're going into the more holistic, empathetic area. Probably she's really into health. She's really into having a healthy lifestyle, etc. But in order to come into that area of being really empathetic, listening skills is essential, and that is a hard cookie to really be proficient in. What do you say about listening skills, Giovanni? I guess that you have been working about this one quite a lot.
Sorry, what did you say? I'm just kidding. Okay, so well, okay, look, like comfort can be created just from your body language alone when you approach the girl or the way you stand, like even giving her some space but not too far away, right? And your micro expressions. So comfort can be nonverbal. As far as listening goes, I think what you're referring to is like people's reason for being and metaphor. So the reason I came here for college, right? Once you get to the reason is because I want to, make it, or I want to prove my dad wrong, or like I want to make my mom proud. That's why I'm studying here. If you can get to the core reason of why someone does something, they feel like you understand them, right? And then if you can understand the life metaphor, then you can really really influence them. So someone's life metaphor might be a hole in the ship means the whole ship sinks, right? So that is her metaphor. She's always looking for things that could go wrong, and she's really plugging in the holes, right? If someone's metaphor is life is a game, life is a fun game, we're just here to collect bonuses, then that girl's gonna have a very different experience and life view than a girl who's like always looking for holes in the ship, right? So their life metaphor basically are the lens they use to see how to respond to events. And then when you ask them their life situation, like why did you come to the city or why did you go to school, that usually after what we call it's called eliciting values, so it's like, so you're in college right now, that's awesome. Well, what made you want to attend UCLA, let's say? Oh, UCLA has a good program. Oh, that's cool. Like, did you always want to come to UCLA as a kid, or was it something recently you discovered? Well, when I was visiting colleges, I saw this campus and it was just amazing. And I'm like, do you know what you're going to major in when you grow up? And she's like, well, I've been thinking about art, da da da. And then you might not get to it till the second date sometimes, but at some point she'll say, remember when I talked about art? Well, my mom, when I was little, she would paint these little amazing pictures, and growing up, I always wanted to be like her. Now you're starting to get to the truth of what influenced them to be who they are. I always ask my clients before we get into our third session, I said, what are one or two of the decisions that you made that changed your whole life trajectory? And I always ask them, what are one or two experiences in your life that shaped who you are today, right? Now, you can't ask a girl that the moment you meet her, but you can ask that on the third or second date. The reason I ask though is because every human being, at some point, they've either made a conscious decision or life has presented experience for them that has heavily influenced or shaped how they are now as a person. And if you can understand that origin story, they're going to feel, and you can reiterate it back to them, they're going to feel like, as you say, because most people don't listen, the person's going to feel like you really, really understand them, and they're going to feel connected to you more than any other person, especially so quickly, because most people can't do that. So what we're listening for are keywords that tend to use over and over again. We're listening to some of the things that are not being said, and we're listening to the subtext of the things it's being said. How do you enjoy your work? Well, it's been really busy lately, just really busy. How do you feel about that? I love it. I love being busy. How do you feel about that? Yeah, my boss is on my... So now we're getting to the truth. They're busy because they're busying themselves because they like it, or they're busy because they're actually having a problem with their boss. So yeah, really listening to not just the words, but also not what's not being said, and then also the reason why someone does something. And that takes a little bit of evidence collecting. You're not going to get it right away. You're going to get kind of like a detective, like Sherlock Holmes. You're looking for clues. Like, what's this? Let me piece this together. And you're not like saying, hey, I'm looking for clues to piece your life together. You can't tell her that. You're just sitting back and listening and saying, okay, I think this is what this person's about. And I have my working hypothesis, but I could be wrong. And if at the moment I know I'm wrong, I drop the hypothesis and then I build another case, okay? But we need a working hypothesis. I think this goes likely to be this way. And I'm going to look for evidence to support it or evidence against it. And if I see evidence against it, I'm going to shift my hypothesis to something else. Okay. So that's how I usually approach getting to know people.
Because sometimes I guess that you have been surprised of how much against the hypothesis you have in the beginning when you start asking the questions about it. Like, okay, I think that she's really into whatever that can be. And you start asking about it. And then you find out like, it was not what I expected. And that comes off quite often, isn't it? We don't really know people unless we ask about the right things. And I just love the terms that you're using, like things that are not being said, things that are not being said, things in between there. And that is what I believe is a lot of meaning between the words, so to speak. They are saying one thing, but it actually is a lot broader in depth than what you just said. So for example, like if she said like, oh, I kind of have a mixed feeling about it, okay, that is like a huge topic beneath the surface many times. Or I kind of like it in the broader context, okay, I kind of like it. Probably 90% of the guy will say like, okay, I get it, that's it. People that are good in conversation will be really curious about what does that mean exactly. I kind of like it, and then they just go into depth to really seek the understanding of things that are not being said, as your term. Like, what is this true understanding exactly? And once she explains to you what she actually mean in depth, number one, she feels great about it. Number two, you have a lot of context to work with when it comes to being flirtatious, being humorous, and all that. You have something to go for. Something that I noticed many times in the old days is like people tend to take things out of thin air and try to make something out of it, rather than using who she is as a person and be flirtatious about that, being, funny or having a certain amount of humor when it comes to the interaction itself, based on what she said and who she really is. And I think it's a big problem between, having jokes that is not really based on something. It's just like something you learn as a routine that have some kind of entertainment value. But I believe that most of the value in terms of humor, in terms of being flirtatious, is based on her. It's based on the context you get from her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it depends. You said a couple of things there. So the first thing is, if you live in the same city for a while, you start to see patterns of certain types of girls. So your working hypothesis, my working hypothesis at least, based on my current experience levels, I would say I'm probably right 75% of the time about what type of girl, what type of person I think this is. However, if I move to a new city with new different, socioeconomic factors and environments, I could meet a girl and I'm like wrong about her, right? So for example, in LA, I know a girl's there's a high chance if she talks a certain way, if she's dressed a certain way, that she's gonna be actress slash model, right? But in New York, it might be, oh, this girl is actually beautiful and she's actually a lawyer. So there's different cities have different types of people, and the world's a big place. But if you've been somewhere in a long time, you can see patterns. When someone says something, just take a moment and just be like, she says she likes badminton, right? And I'm like, what do I know about badminton? For some people, I'm like, oh, I know a lot about badminton. I grew up playing badminton in Singapore, right? Then you can relate to her, okay? Hey, I love, you sounds like you're really excited about badminton. That's a statement of, I understand, a statement of empathy. Guess what? I actually grew up playing badminton too. So I rewarded her for her experience, and then I relayed it back to, I have the same experience. But if you take a moment and just pause, man, what do I know about badminton? Absolutely nothing. You can still reward her. Hey, that's awesome. It sounds like this is something that you're really excited about. Statement of empathy. Then I can say, I don't know much about badminton. Tell me what it is you like about it so much. Okay, so now you're asking them to educate you about what they love. Now, most guys, what do? Oh, you like badminton? Yeah, I heard that, that cricket player. It's like, no, that's not badminton. So they're trying to relate. They're faking the connection. It's not real. They don't know shit about badminton, or maybe they know a little bit, but they don't care, or they don't want to talk about it. That's fine. She's excited about it, so just ask her, what is it about it you like so much? Let her express the thing that she likes, right? And that's fine, but just be truthful. Sometimes you really don't care about that topic, but that person cares. So reward them for caring and ask them why they care. You might learn something about badminton that makes you want to go play. Who knows? But don't fake it. Don't be like, oh yeah, so yeah, that's cool. So like, do you like badminton? So like, where do you play badminton? Like, what time do you play? Who do you play with? Do they have badminton here? And you're asking all these questions because you have nothing better to say, but in reality, you don't give a shit about badminton. So that's a fake conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely. But sometimes we can go into the area of like, okay, so it's not badminton itself that I'm curious about. I'm much more curious about your relationship to badminton. That is what I'm interested in. And that just changed the dynamic of the conversation completely. So it's like, okay, that's the girl. She likes badminton. I'm not really a big fan of badminton, but I want to see her relationship to badminton. And then suddenly you have a lot of things to talk about, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, if you're going to be able to ask right questions, but also relay back to yourself, like you did. If I want to relay back and say, like, you know what, when I'm thinking about badminton, I'm thinking about a very intensive sport where you still have to have some kind of talent of control in your movement. I'm curious, what is the story between you and badminton? And then she started talking about, yeah, but I really liked badminton since I was a kid because I really feel like I have full control over the racket, and I really enjoy how the structure in badminton looks like, and how it was. And suddenly you have actually, like, different roads to go with it. One of the roads you can go is actually to just do what you did. You can make a statement, or we used to call it labeling. So you can just labeling her emotions, like, wow, you seem to be very excited when you're thinking about badminton. Dead quiet. And then you go into, inject parts of empathy in the conversation all the time, and eventually it's going to have a huge impact in her liking towards you. And from the academic field, we see that as likability, and over again, when you taking a real interest towards someone and ask about things that you just did, Giovanni, her background when it comes to badminton, or you seeking sort of, you call it instructions. I guess that is basically correct as well. That you're going to seek meaning of it, because if she don't tell you that, you don't know her relationship to badminton at all, and you want her to tell you about badminton or instruct you what it's all about, and that is creating understanding. And then you also state, her feeling. You label her feeling. That is also an injection of your true understanding about her. That makes her feel great. And I haven't have even one client of all of them that I have been teaching that have any clue about what this is all about until they get right training with me. And it is, I mean, tactical empathy and being really empathetic is really a rare thing in today's environment. And I believe that is like the essential thing in order to build up something with anyone, and specifically women. I've seen guys that are really good in conversation and putting her into the spotlight. And as soon as they have an interaction with her, and he giving her his undivided attention, I mean, he just kill it. He just kill it. Other people that try to go in and be playful and trying to talk about themselves, they many times are just falling away because she's not interested of seeing that or hearing that. She wants to have this genuine conversation with that person that are really listening and are pretty challenging with his questions. I mean, if you're a person that, you know what, you don't get away with me. Whatever you say, I hear them. I hear what you're saying. And whatever you say, I want to know what you mean about them. Because I'm curious about you. I'm interested towards you. I want to know about it. You don't get away with things. And that, I believe, triggers a lot of women, specifically those with a lot of male attention. They get really intrigued in with that kind of conversations. Definitely.
We have 3 minutes left. What do you want? What else do you want to talk about?
Anyway, so if we look at the area of dating and how it's going to look in the future, because I mean, today we have a lot of Tinder. I mean, we have lots of online dating. We have lots of basically online dating. What I believe is just terrible for men, because if you want to look at the ratio of how women look at men on dating apps and etc. I mean, we can definitely see that it's a huge, you know, imbalance there. And people today, guys today, don't have the courage to really cold approach women. That is also an absolute rarity in today's society as well. So how do you think dating will look like in the future? Are this going to change, or what are men going to do today, or how is it going to, what is the most likely scenario that men are going to do in the future? I feel like men are going to be single.
I have no idea. I have no idea. 10 years ago, it was like learn how to do these techniques, and then it was a whole red pill thing, and now that's starting to die out. I have no idea. What I do know for sure is that they don't teach you this in the school system. So this is something that as a young man, I think you have to proactively learn on your own. And I would just advise you to learn in a way that feels real and authentic to you and congruent to who you really are. And I would advise you that whatever technique you learn, in the beginning, learn the fundamentals of why that technique works. Don't skip from one to another because it gets really confusing. Pick one thing that you can learn, one style, and really understand why it works, okay? And you want to pick a coach that he or she has shown you, well, he has shown you that he has gotten the results that you want, okay? Whether you see it in person or through video, or you get enough proof where it's like, this person has achieved the results that I want in dating. How can I use the system? How can I understand the system and apply it to my own life? And make no mistake, this is something you have to actively do, because no one's going to teach you this unless you have a dad or older brother. This is not something the school teaches you. Companies don't teach you this. This is something you need to learn on your own. The ability to connect with people. You know, Dale Carnegie used to say he ran an adult school at nighttime, and he was paid on commission, so he had to deliver results. He said in that school, that was a perfect social experiment in New York City, because he was like, if I didn't get them results, they wouldn't pay me. And he noticed that the ability of people not to worry, and also how to win friends and influence people, that was the most important thing, you know, to be able to connect with people in a real way, to really make real connections. And unfortunately, there's no class that teaches you that, right? So that's just something you need to learn on your own if you don't have it naturally. Most people don't. And don't feel ashamed. Just go out there and acquire this skill set, because it's going to help you in other areas of your life as well. You know, Mr. Silk and I have our courses in the description and comments below. You can check those out. You can check your free YouTube videos. Whatever you do, pick one thing, focus on the fundamentals, learn from someone who knows what they're doing, and build this skill set to authentically connect with people. This skill set will pay you dividends in financial, social, relationship-wise, years down the road that you don't realize right now. Take the time you need, okay? Whether it's a period of your life or maybe just once a week, just going through this material and putting it into practice. And 2, 3 years from now, you're not going to regret it. You know, I never regretted me going into this thing and learning how this worked, because I'm so thankful for that I did that. So make the investment in yourself today. You don't even have to invest with us. You can invest in a coach you feel comfortable with. My point is, make the decision that if you don't have this skill set, this is something that you should work on as part of your evolution to become a man, you know, a man in your prime. And the earlier you do it, the better it is.
All right, Giovanni. Sounds great. And I mean, a lot of your stuff is really based on real principles. And I believe that, guys, if you want to, really learn something for real, make sure it comes from the right frameworks and right principles. When I'm saying right principles, mostly it comes from the world of academic. I mean, we're talking about the faculty of communication, we're talking about the faculty of behaviorism, psychology, and we're using those principles, but then tailor it into the world of dating. And you're going to notice that once you learn the methodology in order to attract women, those acquired skills will be beneficial for you, not only when you're attracting women, but when you're connecting with people in general. So absolutely, Giovanni, it was great to have you on my channel. And what can I say? We keep in touch.
My pleasure.
And
Thanks.
and if you want to visit his channel, you can see that in the link below as well, like high integrity skills. I'm going to put it there. And yeah, he have a lot of Giovanni have a lot of interesting stuff on his channel, a lot of things that you can learn from his YouTube videos as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. And I see you in the next video.